I want to get onto something another angle, and I just want to explain this more fully with silver. You know, a lot of people always contended that if you have physical silver, you're breaking the banksters. You're holding your wealth independently. You're going to preserve your wealth, that type of stuff, against the doomed fiat dollar. The dollar may, in fact, be doomed. It may be. I don't know for sure. I don't think it's going to be totally doomed. I think it's going to be devalued. So, ergo, silver or any other hard assets that are used by people are going to be smart to have, you know. Now, but you know, I'm going to explain something else here, and also something about what they're kind of like warning us about, the prepping us for a changed society in the United States, where things aren't going to be as, you know, smooth as they've always been. The United States is not going to be the wealthy country it always has been. They're pushing change, you know, like Obama and Clinton pushed change. God, change for the worse, pal. But anyway, you know, I said, like, for instance, I gave a little cliche about 3 things that are more important than silver is food, fire, power, and fuel. Think about it. You definitely need food. Food. If asset prices go up because of tensions in the Middle East and gold goes up due to fear of the markets and global tensions, well, of course, food's going to go up if oil goes up. Food production is very energy intensive, and even pesticides come from oil in a lot of ways, indirectly, one way or the other. And firepower, quite obviously, you know, if in a society that becomes where there's unrest, you're going to need to preserve what you have. You're going to need that against, I don't know, anything. You know, it's going to be something important. Also, you're going to probably need it just for plain old hunting, for all I know. And, you know, fuel, energy. It's the one thing that's the wheels, that's the oil, it's the lifeblood of production. But can you imagine if you didn't have energy to produce electricity, energy to run your appliances or drive your car? If you didn't have any kind of fuel for that, what would happen? Society would collapse. So those things are actually more important than silver, you know. I put an emphasis on that first. But it looks like, I saw this article from Bank of America. If the American economy doesn't accelerate soon, it never will. It never is capitalized, right? I'm going to kind of like go over this real briefly, but it looks like to me they're prepping the Americans for a new change. This is what they meant by change, man. Change is you're not going to get shit. That's what it means. But there's a way to fight back, and it's not with just silver. Because when I allude to like food, fire, power, and fuel, right? It's almost like if you got a hammer, you got tools, you got ways to do things on your own, ways to be independent. Guess what? You just broke the elite there. You just broke them. Because you don't need them. The more independent the middle class is, the more you break the elite. That's one reason industrial hemp is one of the things they don't want you to have, because even if you can't grow the plant will be grown by so many people, which will provide food and fuel for people, like and supplies and materials and things like that. But you know, there'll be all these subsidiary industries that'll grow up around the hemp industry too. You'll need, like, you know, salesmen, accountants, marketers, people that build the buildings, work on the tractors, and all this other garbage to support the industry. It won't just be the farmers themselves, but that's something that would actually put a lot of power back in the middle class. So the way to power it is to the middle class is actually to be as independent as possible. One thing is also through health. There's a lot of alternative health things out there, and I try to be accurate with them and not exaggerate them. But that's another way to take back your power. Somebody who's like healthy is going to be stronger, more alert, and, you know, more not susceptible to bullshit. Basically staying away from all the chemically laden foods that are out there, the pharmaceutical drugs, and, you know, the frequency generated garbage that's on TV where they mesmerize you with garbage so you get brainwashed. And believe me, it works. That's why I avoid the television. But it looks like Bank of America put down, it says the next 5 years. They're talking about if the economy doesn't recover, just forget about it. It's going to be curb your enthusiasm. It goes on. You know, they're not going. The stimulus is probably going to be curbed back. They're going to be tightening the reins and this type of stuff. And you're not going to see the economy improve. But you know, a way the economy can improve? Just make it improve. Just make it improve. You know, it's almost like when you think the situation is hopeless, you pick up your hammer, you pick up your tools, you pick up your wrenches or whatever, and you make it work. There's a lot of ways you can make things work cheaper. And I don't want to put too many videos out like this particular video. I want to put more and more how-to videos, especially on health, but also on doing different things, because it's more important than, you know, describing the situation of how you're being screwed over. You know what I mean? That's telling you how, but it's not telling you what to do about it. You know, it's like specifics of how to freaking fight it back is more important. So, like I said, I have a number of videos that get into that type of stuff too. And it's all the little things that can save you a lot of money. Because it's not just how much money comes in, it has to do with how much money goes out. So, you know, also got to give this thing, you know, when you think the economy is like hopeless and all this kind of garbage, well, imagine like how the Germans must have felt in World War II after they got their countries like totally bombed into oblivion. Some of the cities were total rubbles. You know what? You ever look at the pictures of like what Germans were doing right after World War II? They're picking up all the bricks and they're putting them in neat piles. And guess what? Reconstruction happened right away. It wasn't just money from the United States that happened and brought that country back up on its feet. It was the people themselves. And that's really the lesson you got to have right there. No matter how bad the situation is, just keep going forward, man. That's all there is to it. There's a million ways you could do things cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Believe me. And that's how you fight back the elite. Because before you know it, the economy flourishes again. But just don't give in to superfluous bullshit. And that's 90% of the problem right there. Because it's almost like, how do I get rich quick? You know, if you think of that, you think silver is a how to get rich quick scheme, you're probably blowing the point. And actually, even if you got rich, you'd probably blow the money inside of a year or two and be worse off. Because that's the average lottery winner. If they ever got, you know, they used to give out lump sum money with lotteries. Well, the average, practically every single one of them, wasn't even the average one. It was practically every single lottery winner that got lump sum. Inside of 3 years, they were worse off than they were when they even got their $10 million. So, I mean, that's the way it would work even with people that made a lot of money on silver. They would screw it up anyway. Because it has a lot more to do with than just, you know, getting the money in the first place. It's almost like, how do you hold the money? How do you keep it where you're not going to be subjected to, I gotta, you know, I'm special, I gotta blow money on this and that. And you can see people do this all the time. I mean, they got advertisements for males and they got advertisements for females. You know, they used to have it with the males with the cars, you know, always buy a new car and all this kind of shit, clothes, whatever. Women with the makeup, the hair, you know, styles and all this kind of shit. It's almost like, why do you change? And actually, if you think back, what the styles were even in the 40s or 50s, or 50s was pretty progressive actually. You know, the 50s styles were pretty modern and progressive. They actually, probably not much, there's nothing wrong with most of the stuff that was out even then, or even in the 20s. Two prosperous times in the United States. It's like people look at something like that and go, oh, throw it away, get a new one, you know? If she says that, hit her. Hit her twice. I'm telling you, man, it's bullshit. Because, you know, that's really that's 90% of the problem with the United States in some ways. It's a throwaway society. There's a lot of waste going on there, man. A lot of waste. I mean, there's I mean, some things are classic, and one of the classic things out there is silver. Silver's classic. Silver's been around. There's not too much more classic than silver. Silver's been around for thousands of years. And that's why, you know, it's going to continue to be worth something. I mean, even if they come out with new technology where they don't need silver in electrical circuits, well, you know what's going to come out is there's going to be more silver used for antimicrobial purposes. And there's a lot more ways you can use silver in the household than people are even telling you about. And I'm going to bring out another video on that too. And it's just going to create more and more demand for people to even have at least 10 ounces of silver in their house to make lots of colloidal silver. So, you know, even that kind of thing, if you took 100 million people in the United States, all had at least 10 ounces, which is not a lot, you know, of silver, and, you know, it didn't have to, maybe it could be 4 nines or 3 nines. You know, it depends. And if you're, it's not that big of a deal to even have it 3 nines as long as you're using pure distilled water. You take that, you know, 10 ounces times 100 million people, that's a billion ounces of silver right there. And that can be consumed during a year, for just the average user using that up in your household for various things. So it's like, you know, even if they come out with demand for electronics, there's other demands that can be for the product. Because in effect, it's very, very useful, and it keeps you very, very independent from the elite. And that is the whole game. The only reason the elite get over on the middle class is because the middle class gets mesmerized by the bullshit they throw out. That's 99% of the problem. It's like the promises of, you know, I'm special, I'm this, you have to buy this because I'm special. You know, Angelina Jolie cuts her boobs off or some crap and everybody has to have an operation like that. It's ridiculous, you know. It's like, you know, if Angelina Jolie went and bought a Rife Tesla device or some crap for cancer and it went all over the media, there'd be a gazillion Rife Tesla devices being sold right now, whether they worked or not, because Angelina Jolie is using one. But, you know, that's the whole point. The American middle class seems to be able to be led around by the nose a lot, and that's where they get you to spend, and they get you in debt. So that's the game, baby. That's the game. The only way you get out of debt is not biting in the first place, and also staying independent. And silver is only one part of being independent. One part of it. One part of it. Like I said, food and fuel are more important, and your self-defense are more important than silver. But it's almost like your tools, your know-how, and your adaptability, and everything else, and your creativity, where you can be more independent with less and actually have more, is more important than silver. But silver is still an integral part of that strategy to be totally independent from the elite. And a strong and independent thinking middle class is something that the spiteful elite do not want. Because, like, there's good elite and bad elite, and I'll put it to you this way. The ones we need to be against, I'll put this as the end thought, is against the spiteful elite. There are elite that have to be on the top no matter what. If there was a pile of crap or someplace, they'd have to be on the pile of the crap. They wouldn't want to make it nice, golden, nice pile, but they want to be on the top. No, they want to be on the top no matter how much they knock people down. That's exactly how they play it. And there are the spiteful elite, and there are the good elite. Let me put it that way, because not all of them are bad. Not all of them are bad. That's an actuality. But to be independent requires more than just silver. So think outside, think of all the areas, and stay with the silver. Because it will play out, and you know what? When silver takes off, it's not going to be one of these curves that's going up like this and going up. It's going to go like this. And then all of a sudden it's going to go like that at the last minute, then do a hard correction and probably play off again. I'm thinking 2014 is going to be 72 to 75 with silver, correct below 50 in a very general way. And then in 2017, 2018, 2017, I'm thinking 150 to 200. That's what I'm thinking. So stay with it. Stay with it. Not time to sell yet, and it's not the only thing out there. Not the only thing out there. But it's your creative firepower, actually, your creative firepower that's in your mind, and not being able to, and not being influenced by Hollywood garbage is more important to you to be truly independent than just buying a hunk of metal. But that hunk of metal is a classic, and classics stay around forever. You know, if you had a Model A Ford today, built in 1930, I mean, there's no reason to get yourself the latest car. It's just as good, right? Just as good. So think that way. And silver is even more classic than the Model A Ford, so that tells you something.